and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics either in business or in life and simplify them. And we love to talk to super smart people all over the world. And this one, my friends, comes all the way from South Korea. I'd like to introduce to you Desiree Martinez. She is an entrepreneur, domestic wannabe, and a Harry Potter junkie known for her social media content plans and always saying yes to new adventures. She's my kind of girl. She's also the founder of the all-in-one social media, as well as the host of Marketing for Your Boring Business podcast. I am so excited to welcome Desiree onto the podcast today because she's going to be simplifying something that I think a lot of people struggle with sometimes: the art of delegating. Oh, bum, 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 bum. So Desiree, I'd like to welcome to you the podcast. Hello.
Why, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and ready to help you guys get simple with your workload.
Oh my gosh. So, I think the reality for a lot of us that are listening right now is, you start off, maybe you start a business as a side hustle. You're like, I really want to do this thing and I want to try it out and give it a go. And then, you get a little bit of traction and people are buying your thing. They're loving your stuff. And you're like, oh, this is great. I kind of want to do a bit more. And I kind of want to do a bit more. And then I kind of want to do this and that and social media and this. And it's like, oh my God, I am not sleeping, because it's after a while you hit your breaking point, don't you? Right?
You do. It is so hard to be an entrepreneur because you're just so focused on that goal of being your own boss, making that money, having that hustle. And you forget that you can't do it all. Even if you look at a corporate job, no one person does everything.
It's true. It's so true.
You have to make sure that once you get to a point in your business, if you want to have growth, you have to start farming out some of the work.
Yes.
And it's the hardest thing you'll ever do is hire your first person. But after you do, you'll be like, how did I do this before? What is wrong with me? Why didn't I do this sooner?
Oh, no joke.
It's so important.
So we're going to dive into simplifying and streamlining your business through delegation. But before we do that, I really just want to know a little bit more about your backstory. So wait a second. How are you in South Korea right now? Why?
What, doesn't everybody want to come here? It's actually a fantastic country. And if you ever get a chance to go somewhere really cool and unique, I highly actually recommend coming here. What has led me here is I am actually an Air Force wife. My husband is a mechanic for the planes, and the Air Force said, hey, we need you to go to Korea. And so we packed up our bags and we've been here for about a year now. We're heading back to the States soon. So really excited about that.
Yeah.
But my background is actually kind of interesting. I actually have a background in multimedia art and animation. I grew up my whole life obsessed with Pixar movies and Disney. And I remember being 10 years old and sitting in the theater when Toy Story came out and saying to my mom and dad, I'm going to do that when I grow up. And that was my goal for the next 12 years of my life. I got good grades in high school. I went to college. I studied it. I graduated at the top of my class. And I was part of that first wave of college grads that were faced with the economy crash. And so one of the first things to go is marketing and art, because they become, and for some reason, everyone seems to think that they are the most expendable when they're actually the most necessary.
Right.
And so I had to figure something out. And at the time, I was in Phoenix with my parents, and I needed to figure out how to make money. And so I'm like, well, I have this skill. My mom's like, you should go freelance. And so I found this website in Phoenix called networkingphoenix.com, and it was a place where you went to network, and it had every single event in Phoenix that was listed, from chambers to masterminds to coffee dates to tips to BNIs. And so I dove into it, and I was like, I got to find people that are business owners that need my work. And I was doing graphic design work for $10 an hour.
Wow.
And people were still telling me, oh my gosh, it's just too expensive, and all kinds of crazy things. But I had this unique thing. I was young. Mm-hmm. And I know, what a weird problem, right? I was young and networking, and people were like, do you know what this Facebook thing is? Because my kids told me I should get on it, and I don't know what it's about.
Talk to me about the Twitters.
Yeah, what is this thing? I don't understand it. And, I was in college. I had been on Facebook since you had to have a college email to do it. And so I was like, well, this is interesting. And so I started using Facebook, teaching people what Facebook was and like how it worked as a networking tool. So I'd be like, hey, you want to go get some coffee? I can tell you about Facebook and how to help your business. People were like, oh, yeah, that sounds interesting. And so one day I'm sitting having coffee teaching a guy about it. And he's like, Desiree, you should do this as a business. And I just like laughed in his face. I was like, no one's going to pay me to be on Facebook. This was in 2009. And so circumstance after circumstance and research after research led me to being like, yeah, I can actually do this. So on June 30th, 2010, I started my own social media marketing business and haven't looked back.
Now, your business is called All-in-One Social Media. Now, from my understanding, it's a subscription social media service that focuses on helping small businesses grow, right? You guys handle all of their social media content based on what package they buy, right?
Yeah. So if you want to think about it on the subject of today, which is delegation, we are actually a delegation tool for your business. We are focused on helping small businesses grow by taking that social media burden off of your soldiers.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to keep up with what's happening in social. It's changing all the time. There's all these different rules and regulations, and the internet's so emotional right now that it's kind of hard to know what to do and what to be. And so keeping up is hard. And when you're working in your business, not on your business, you're working in it, it's hard to work on it. So we do daily content, we create custom graphics, and we include a Facebook advertising budget within our low-cost packages so that you're able to just have it taken care of. And our focus is you run your business, we've got your social. And what's also great about working with us, besides the fact that it's done for you and it's done right and it's done well, is that our team of social media managers are all military spouses. I started on social media because I saw a need for these military spouses, these college-educated women who were not able to get jobs in things like fast food or retail, or were fighting with locals over jobs because they were military spouses. They were turned away from these jobs because of who they were married to. And I was like, that's not okay. And so I started this business to help them, because what they're able to do is they're able to do this job anywhere that they get stationed in the world and supplement their family's income no matter what the mission needs.
It's so interesting. I mean, what a fascinating business model that you hire military spouses and they could be stationed anywhere in the world, right? And so that is
a
perfect candidate for a virtual assistant, right? Because I think a lot of times when you're working with virtual teams, it's nice to have people in different time zones, I think, because, people could be working on things while you're asleep. And when you wake up in the morning, poof, it's just magically in your inbox waiting for you. I know that that's the case with my teams. I've got teams in Canada and in the US, and I'm based here in the UK. And boy, howdy, I tell you, it is the wave of the future. So I think sometimes with entrepreneurs and people that are just starting out in business, they don't quite realize that technology's caught up, that you can actually hire virtual teams all over the world and it works, right? So let's just start by saying, why do people need this? Why do people need to look at delegating and or working with virtual teams to offload work? Why?
So when I first decided to delegate out my business, this was way back in the day when Facebook landing pages were still a big deal. So we would custom design and custom code these Facebook landing pages so that when you went to a Facebook page for the first time, you had to hit the like button and you would get a coupon or a deal. I'm dating my business here.
Yeah.
But I couldn't keep up with the work because I was networking and I was generating content. I was having business meetings. I was driving because I had to do a lot of driving at the time. And I wasn't, my eyes were bleeding from staring at the computer. And I was like, there has to be a way for me to get this done. And so I went to Craigslist and I started looking through resumes of designers. And I came across this guy that this might work. He seems to have a good price range and I could do this in. I think that we could work together. And if it doesn't work out, I'll give him one project. If it doesn't work out, I'll just try again or never do this again. And I'm just ridiculous. But ended up working out. What's actually funny is he's still one of the graphic designers on my team.
Yeah.
8 years later.
Wow.
So, I was able to work a system out with him where he was able to design easily. We had like a template of code, and it just made so much sense to me. And so the moment, like literally within 30 days of doing that, by being able to hand that work off, I was able to double my business because I could take on more work. Because I was able to give somebody who couldn't find business.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like I was helping him by working with him. It's not just, oh, you have this skill here, let me give you money for it. It's like, no, he wasn't able to find this work. And by working with me, he's able to get that extra money and have more portfolio pieces and add this new skill to his repertoire.
Well, and I think that people have this kind of myth in their head when they think about, oh, if I've got to hire somebody, I've got to hire them for 40 hours a week. I've got to pay their benefits. I've got to, like, oh my God, like how could I possibly afford another person? I can barely afford myself, right? But the reality is that's not the case anymore, right? Like your plans for social media packages are fairly affordable, actually.
Yeah, so our packaging is at $149 a month. And so
Stop. Pause. $149 a month is crazy, Desiree. Like, think about that for a second. Anybody that's listening, $149 a month to delegate your social media. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm already over here going, maybe we could use your help, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. And, because I've been doing this for so long, I know what my ideal client needs. My ideal client works in their business. They're the ones fixing roofs, working on teeth, painting those houses, and doing a lot of the working in their business. So they don't really have the ability or the skill to work on their business. And so I know that social media is an important part of that, but I also know that they have a small marketing budget, and I want to make sure that they're able to get more of their marketing budget. So I'd rather give them a good service for my pricing, while also them having more money to do other things like search engine optimization or website design or PR or print marketing or whatever it is that they have going on, so that they're still able to do everything they need versus putting all of their eggs in one basket.
And you specialize in like boring businesses, what you say. So like plumbers, lawn care companies, people like that.
I've worked with them all. I've worked with virtual assistants. I've worked with tech schools. I've worked with salons, consignment stores, lawyers. Like, there's not a business we can't help with this model. But with what we're talking about, like, so our packaging is $149 a month. My team that does the work, they're contractors. They work on a flat rate. So they get a specific dollar amount for every client that they're managing. And they know, especially once they get trained, which is something we need to make sure we talk about today, is how long it should take them to do the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know how long it takes to do the work because I've been doing it for so long. And I even pad that time for them because I work really fast because I'm the leader. I'm the expert.
Yeah.
So I can't expect them to operate at my level, but I can, however, understand what their needs are and go through it with them.
Yeah.
And so by having contractors, which is essentially a 1099 employee, if you think about your taxes, you have like your 1040 EZs, you get a W-2, and that's how you file your taxes. Well, a 1099 employee is someone that you've paid more than $600 to in a year's time, and you pay them, and they're responsible for all of their taxes. You don't withdraw taxes, you don't pay benefits, you don't do any of that other stuff. Mm-hmm. But there are things on the flip side. And so if you're looking to hire people out, I definitely think that you want to talk with a lawyer in your state about like what your country, I guess, depending on where you're at, what the rules are for the differences between employees, hourly employees, and contractors, so you know what you legally can and can't ask of them, so that you're making sure that you're covering your butt, essentially. So it's so easy, and my team loves that they're contractors because they work when they want. Some of them are parents. They do, as they say, they work during nap times. Some of them that take a one day in a month and they bust everything out in that day. So it's all about what works best for them. And that's what contractors are so great, because they're not on your time, they're on their time. So you just kind of tell them, hey, this is when this has to get done. Here's your deadline. And then they make it happen within that time frame. Mm-hmm. So don't let something like paperwork get you hung up on missing an opportunity to make more money and do more work and help more people with your business.
Yeah, I mean, beyond your business with all-in-one social media, I mean, there are tons and tons of virtual assistants out there now versus even 2 years ago. People weren't advertising themselves as much as they are now. So finding a virtual assistant, it also changes the relationship. You're not their boss. You are their client. They are your partner, and not like a business partner, but they are your vendor partner that helps you, push the needle forward. So I think that's really interesting to consider when you're hiring a virtual team, is to change and flip how you look at the relationship. It's not about clocking in at a certain time and clocking out. It's not about, managing necessarily. You manage the project, right? But they report to you as you are the client on their progress.
Yeah. And one of the things I love what she talked about is like that relationship. So my team of military spouses, it's a really unique relationship because while I am, quote unquote, their boss or their partner, their person that gives them work and gives them money, right? I understand their life because I live their life. And that's what makes my business unique. And that's why it's specific to my mission. I am a military spouse. And so I understand specifically what they're going through. I will get emails from them and say, hey, my husband's deploying. And I'll be like, you know what? I got this. You go spend time with your husband. We'll take care of the work. Like, don't you worry about it. And it's done. Or, hey, my husband just got recalled. Or, hey, I got a TDY. Or, hey, my kids are sick. Or, hey, this random orders came in. I got to get, we understand that life. If you're going to go talk to like your boss who's, working the 9 to 5, they're not going to understand that. They're going to be like, yeah, so. So by having that relationship, we know that. But it's not just with virtual assistants. Like my social media managers are not virtual assistants. We just do social. My team of delegation is not just with my team specifically that does the work. I have a YouTube producer. I have a podcast producer. I have a CPA. I have a graphic designer. I have a web person. I have a team that makes my business work because, again, I'm a military spouse. I'm a mom. I have to do 60 hours work of, or if not more, of work in like 20 to 25 hours a week.
Right.
That is just impossible unless I have a TARDIS or a time turner or the ability to freeze time. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So by having these teams, by having all these systems in place, I'm able to do all of the things I want with my business. But I didn't just do them all at once. They were gradually added into my business as I wanted to do more. So if you're thinking right now, oh my gosh, I have so much work and I'm not sleeping, or my kids are suffering, or I'm yelling at my kids and husband because they're in the way of me taking care of what I need to do, look at your life and really think, what are some things that I can delegate out? And you'll find that there are actually things beyond your business that you can delegate out. For example, I am a horrible housekeeper. Like I said, I'm a domestic wannabe. I love to cook. I hate to clean. I can do laundry all day. I hate putting it away. I was like clawing my eyes out trying to find the time to take care of my domestic problems. And I was like, you know what? I delegate all these things out for my business. Why don't I delegate it? So I have a housekeeper that comes every 2 weeks and she does like the hard cleaning of my house. And it's such a huge relief for me. So if you're able to, if you want to get to that position with your business, with your life, you have to start farming some things out.
Totally.
That's the only option.
100% agree. We have a housekeeper that comes in once a week just to touch up, and I have kids as well. So like literally 10 minutes later, it's a hot mess again. But I don't know. There's something nice about pressing the reset button and going, okay. And it doesn't cost that much, So I think, yes, thinking about where in your life you would just be glad to hand it over to somebody else, whether that is in your home life or in your work life or beyond, making that list and just starting to say, like, I call it my heck yeahs or hell no's. Like, what are the hell no's on your to-do list that you're just like, it drains me.
Without being vulgar, I have this saying in my life. It says, stop doing shit you hate. And so, I just kind of go approach everything like this. This is something I hate to do. It is something, and if it is this something I can pay someone to do.
Yes.
And if it isn't, I have to do it. But
Yeah.
sometimes it is. And so that's what I try to keep in my perspective.
It's true. And, I think that that's a key point that you mentioned earlier when you're talking about like having multiple people on the team. 2 key points, actually. One is each person has their own micro niche. Like, it's not you're hiring a personal assistant that does 80 bazillion things, like some magical unicorn that can do all of it. You've got a person that does bookkeeping, a person that does graphic design, a person that does your Facebook ad strategy, let's say. So thinking about those terms of hiring somebody who is hyper qualified in one specific zone, and, in my opinion, pay a little bit more because that person is specialized and an expert in that. But that person probably works 10,000 times faster than if you were to try to hire, some entry-level person and training them up as you go. But then 2, I want to point out and highlight the point you made earlier of hiring in waves. Think about your very first person to hire, your greatest pain point, the thing that if you could take that rock out of your cart right now and, be done with it, and you're never fully done, right? But you at least delegate off, then you can focus on those higher yielding tasks, which in the end of the day, it's making money, right? Making sales.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things I think that people do. Like if you're charging too little, and you need to charge more to hire someone to help you with your work. And needing to charge more, I think, is a sign that you're getting better at business and that you really understand your value. Mm-hmm. Like I said in the beginning with my story, when I was starting off doing networking for graphic design work, I was charging $10 an hour for graphic design work. And now I look back at that and I'm like, what was I thinking? But I had to do that time. Like I had to build that portfolio, get my name out there and experiment, figure out. And now when people need stuff from me, it's definitely not that much money. It's definitely much more. But one of the things I find that people get really hung up on is they say this, well, no one can do it as good as me.
Ha!
And I'm saying, yes, they can. You just have to train them to.
Yes.
And when you're bringing somebody into your team, you're actually giving yourself more work, which sounds completely contradictory, but hang on with me, guys. So the reason that it's going to be more work for you is because if you want to take this big burden off of your shoulders, you've taken the time to find somebody. They seem to be a good fit. You've done your Skype interview or you've done an in-person interview for some reason. They seem like they have a good fit. They seem to be on board with your personal ethics and just you get along. I think that you should be like, you know what? I think if I wasn't paying this person, I could be their friend. I feel like that's a really important thing with your contractors. And then they understand your life. Then you have to give them a test. You have to see how they do stuff. All of my contractors that come in have to do a test. Like, okay, you've answered the questions right. You've done all these things. Now I want to see if you actually like the work. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't like this is what you're going to be doing at least 2.5 hours per client every month. Make sure you like it. And so I give them a test and they report back to me. And some people after the test, they're like, no, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, no harm done. I'd rather know now.
Yeah.
So give them the test. And then you have to make sure you have really good training. So I have videos, as I've done this so much and our process is pretty ironclad. I have videos of every single thing that they need to know for finding content, writing content, organizing content, scheduling content, what we do for Instagram, what we do for Facebook, what we do for Twitter, what we do for Pinterest, how to communicate with me, all that stuff. So by having that training in place, it makes it easier when you bring in your team. But if it's your first person, you're going to have to work through that with your new person. So you really have to sit down and think, okay, what are all of the things I do for this? If I had to teach somebody how to do this, what do I do? And you just make a list, bullet out, okay, first is this and then this and this. Maybe you have to reorganize your list and structure and then go in and flesh it out. It's almost kind of like writing a book. You're writing a training manual for this person. And then you have to give it to them and you have to go over it with them. You have to give them time to see if it's going to work. And sometimes it doesn't work and you have to go find a new person. That is so frustrating. But it's better to find out someone isn't going to work sooner rather than later and be frustrated and be like, you know what? What's the point of even hiring somebody? Yeah. Because And this is just, no, the right person will be on board with you for a long time, and it'll be worth its weight in gold. Trust me, I have some of my contractors. My contractors are one of two. They either last forever or they last like maybe 2 or 3 months. It's one or the other. It's the same with my clients. My clients, either they're like on board for the long haul or they only last like 2 or 3 months. And that's just kind of how the cycle works. I don't know why, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
And so
and
having training and taking the time is vital for this to work for you.
Yeah.
But once it's done, once they're trained, once they know, you're going to be able to just forward them emails with basic notes, and they're just going to handle it. And it's nice.
Yeah. No, it's brilliant. And I think that also it's important to realize that when you're writing that training manual for the very, very first time, it may seem a bit tedious, but one tip that I always like to use is just set a 7-minute timer. It's so simple. Like, don't have anything else open on your computer, phones put away, 7 minutes to bullet point out, okay, these are steps 1 through 10 of how we post on Instagram. Here's steps 1 through 10 of how we do, create graphics for our social media accounts, whatever it might be, and bullet point it out. It'll get out really quickly. But then once you've made it, you only have to make it once, right? So let's say that contractor didn't work out. Well, guess what? You still have the training manual that you built, and then you can refine it over time of like, oh, okay, I wasn't very clear on steps 3 and 4. She stumbled there, so maybe I refine that a bit more. But I love the idea of taking that training manual concept one step further and shooting video content as well. Because, some people are visual learners, right? They learn through watching videos.
For what my thing is, I have to show them how to do something.
Yeah.
And since my girls are stationed all over the world, I have to be able to visually show them how to find content, what to look for, how to do things in Pinterest, how our software works. So I have to do that. But when I'm doing my video stuff, so like when I decide, okay, got my system down, my contractors are set, got my CPA because that's just a requirement for all business owners. But then I was like, okay, I want to do video marketing. And it's a big deal. Everything's been doing it. I've been avoiding it for a long time. But I'm like, why am I not doing video marketing? I asked them. It's because I don't have time. Like, I can come up with content. I can shoot content. I don't have time to edit it. I also don't know all the ins and outs of YouTube. Like, it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of time that I don't have. And time is my most valuable asset. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to find somebody. And I did. I went on to Fiverr and I talked with a bunch of different people. We negotiated a price. I knew exactly what I wanted because I had examples because I had been researching this for a while. And I found someone. And then what was interesting is a podcast interview happened where a guy that is a YouTuber was on it, and he contacted me asking if he could take over the work for me. And I was like, yes, because he also did all these extra things for me that I needed and wanted, but it just wasn't getting done. So now I have a video producer that edits my videos. I sit down a couple times a month and I record a bunch of videos at once, and I put them up on my server. I send him a link and say, here are the videos, and here are my YouTube thumbnails, and here's when they need to publish. And he edits them. He uploads the blog to my website. He does all the back-end YouTube stuff, and it gets done.
Yeah,
and because he's doing it, I'm already starting to see the return on investment. I'm able to send these videos to my existing clients to help them. People that are interested in me are like, oh, she really knows what she's doing, because I'm also doing this Military Marketing Monday thing where I'm training businesses and marketers about military life so they can market better to my demographic. I'm starting to get these unique military business consultations on the books. So it's really helped. Same thing happened with my podcast. I want a podcast, but I don't know how to make it work. I had to go set up. What do I do with iTunes? What do I do with Stitcher? What do I do with Google Play?
Yeah.
How does this all work? I went to Fiverr. I found a guy who produces my podcast. I just set up my interviews. I do this part, which is the part I like. I like creating the content, and then I just send it to him.
Yeah.
And I know what it's supposed to do, but I just make sure it gets done. And so it happens. So if you want to add things to your business, don't let something like, oh, I don't – time stop you, because you can essentially buy time.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times it's the tech that's so scary, and the reality is if you can test a contractor or a VA or someone that you find via Fiverr or where else with one project or a 30-day run or something like that, then you can at least start to figure out what you need from that relationship and how you communicate back and forth. Because I think that's where sometimes people fall down as well, is the tracking, the workflow, and best practices with communication and all that. So do you have any top tips of how you do it on your team?
So my best thing is find somebody. So I have 2 platforms that I find. My website finds people for my business. Because I'm at a word of mouth place with getting resumes in the door for my business. Because I have a really specific niche, like I only hire military spouses. I have my own community to turn to hire.
But I actually mean like when you've hired somebody specifically and you've assigned them some projects or tasks, how do you track that workflow of communication back and forth of them doing the work, doing the thing?
You know, because my girls are so on it and my team is on it, because I'm regularly communicating with them, because they have to send me stuff back and forth all the time. I just keep track of it. I will warn you guys, one of the flaws in my business and something I'm working on for myself is actually project management. I don't know how all my projects manage to stay done. I think it's because I do have a team of people that know their specific job. Yeah. In my web of stuff I have to do. And so it just gets done. So I'm just able to keep track of it. But I definitely think that there are a lot of fantastic project management softwares out there that can help you stay on track of stuff.
Yeah.
Especially if you have like an ongoing to-do list or things like that. Like I just know where my clients are each month, and I have a lot of just reminders that come in and what has to get done. Some are more hands-on than others.
Yeah.
So
we use a mix of Trello as our project management software to track kind of weekly or monthly to-dos, with the various team members. And Trello is really nice in that you can assign it to a specific person, you can color code it, you can attach files. It's really amazing. It's all cloud-based. And Trello is totally free, and we've used the free version for a very, very long time. You don't even need necessarily the gold version until you kind of upgrade to the Ferrari style. But also go ahead.
We use Google Drive actually for all because we're so like content based. So it's like all of our photos, all of our monthly content that we're doing, all of the videos, all the podcasts, everything is all on my Google Drive. And I do pay for the extra storage on that, and then I just share it out to the team. So I have that requirement that, hey, in order to do this, you have to have a Gmail that you're working out of so that we can share.
Yeah, that was I was just going to say next is that it's also a mix of Google Drive as well to share files back and forth. But then a third tool that we use that I find is helpful to keep the inbox from being uncluttered is Slack. So we use Slack to have communication. So it's a bit more of like a message board, quick answer, quick question, back and forth, and tracking it by threads as well makes a huge, huge difference. So yeah,
I just think that I'm familiar with Slack. I find that because we're working on individual client project base, we have to do it through emails because it's like the title of the email. So like it'd be the client, like XYZ plumbing, we keep, and then I keep tracks of all the emails for records purposes. Slack I find to be very forum based, and I don't like that forum where it's just like a long list. I find that difficult to use, but I do know a lot of people that do love it, and so I think it's just a matter of like what you're comfortable with and like how your flow works.
Totally. Yeah. And we've learned some Slack kind of ninja moves recently, because I think what the hardest part with Slack when you're first starting with it is just what they call like message fatigue. Like it's just like, oh my God, I'm getting so many notifications. But we've learned how to optimize our Slack channels so that we use threads per project or client thing. So you can use channels, hashtag blah, and threads to track the conversations throughout. But then also a secret ninja tool with Slack is that you can snooze or notifications on certain channels. So let's say you don't want to be bothered after 6 p.m. on Tuesday. You can snooze certain channels so that you're not getting a ping at 11 o'clock at night. So yeah, there's loads of ways to kind of simplify the communications flow between working with your virtual teams. It's just trying to find the thing that works best for you, right? So that you're not getting the bings and pings at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I put my phone on silent at night. So yeah. I have pretty strict boundaries, especially when it comes to my sleep. But I think if anyone is looking to get started with figuring out how to delegate something for them, I think starting with a virtual assistant is a great way to start. I have this great book called Panic Proof by Jess Ostroff. You can read it for free if you have Amazon Unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about how the right virtual assistant can save your sanity and grow your business. And she really breaks down specifically like, these are the different roles. These are what different virtual assistants do. This is what the different ones are. And she just basically hand holds you through the entire process of hiring your first virtual assistant. And a virtual assistant can help you with so many things: content generation, email marketing, podcast production, so many things. So I definitely think besides having a CPA for your business, a virtual assistant is going to be your secret weapon for productivity.
Without a doubt. And like we said earlier, I think the secrets to hiring a great VA is to have a good creative brief in the beginning. So really a one-sheeter that says this is the role, these are the primary tasks, this is what we're looking for, so that it's well communicated up front. And then once you've gone through the interview process, you're like, right, this person seems like a good match. Give them a 30-day run. Give them one project to work on and test their chops, if you will. And, then they're a contractor, right? So it's like, you can say, well, that wasn't quite what we're looking for, and course correct, or just say, you know what, maybe it's not a match. Let's move on to somebody else. And that's the beauty of it, with working with VAs. So just to wrap up, a couple of questions I want to share with you today. And thank you again so much for sharing sort of your insider secrets for working with people all over the world. So in addition to Panic Proof, great book recommendation, are there any other books or blogs that you're reading right now that are really inspiring you or even challenging you right now?
I'm reading a lot of different things right now that aren't super related to the subject. Like I just finished reading Crushing It by Gary Vee, which is basically, he wrote the book Crush It in 2009, and it's all about reinforcing that and like proofs in the pudding, like people who read Crushed It and like what they've done, like how they were been successful from it. And that was fantastic. I love You Are a Badass, which is a fantastic book. It really just helps you like get out of your own head trash and move forward with things, no matter what it is in your life. And if you're a mom out there and you're just looking for a really funny book, I highly recommend reading Confessions of a Domestic Failure, because it just puts so much fun things into perspective and makes you laugh at yourself and the silliness of motherhood, sometimes all the extra stress that we put on ourselves. I'm a big advocate of audiobooks. There's very rarely any point in my day where I'm not doing two things at once. And I love that I can listen to an audiobook while doing dishes or getting my kids ready for school in the morning, or I have to take the bus in Korea because I don't have a car, riding the bus and listening to a book. So, yeah,
definitely.
If you think that you can't read, audiobooks.
Audiobooks are the wave of the future, and podcasts.
If you listen to podcasts, you should automatically be on the audiobook train.
Totally. So we believe that gratitude and simplicity go hand in hand over here. Tell us, what's one thing you're really grateful for right now in your life?
Oh man, I'm really grateful for sinus medicine right now.
Oh no.
Yeah. Fun fact, Korea is filled with cherry blossoms. Fun fact, my nose is not like cherry blossoms as much as my eyes do. So that was not fun. I think I'm just really grateful for, I'm just really grateful for my circle of people, my community, being very supportive of what I do, being supportive of my unique life of military life, being understanding of my time zone issues, people genuinely looking out for me, like when they see things like, oh, what's happening with North Korea? Oh, or what's going on with Syria? All that kind of stuff. People genuinely are actually worried about me and my family because of the military life that we lead. And I'm just so grateful for that ongoing love and support, especially when most of the time our internet world is filled with so much ugliness. So I think I'm actually really grateful for that one right now.
So who is one person that you know in your circle, in your community, online, wherever, that you think we should interview on the Simplifiers podcast, and why?
Oh, man. So many. So many.
Somebody who can simplify stuff for us.
I would actually, my favorite person on the internet, and she has been for a really long time, and I super fangirl over her, is Amy Schmittauer Landino, the vlog boss. And she she introduced me to video marketing and how I could do it. She wrote a book called Vlog Like a Boss, and I read it. It came out last January, and I read it, and I was just in love. And I was like, I'm going to do this. The problem is that right after I finished her book, we had our orders to Korea. And I'm like, well, it's probably not a good idea to start doing video marketing when you're trying to leave the country with 2 toddlers. So, she really simplifies it. And she's got a fantastic YouTube called Amy TV that helps you make your life better. And her whole goal is to help you live the life that you want. She gives daily tips to help. She gives bi-weekly tips on things that you can do to like get up early in the morning, or how to plan your schedule better, how to do things you think that you can't do, things you should read. It's a fantastic, I love her.
Yeah, good.
Amy Schmittauer, the Vlog Boss.
Fantastic. Well, we will definitely reach out to her. Before we answer or ask the final question, I just want to acknowledge you. Thank you so much for being on today and sharing all that you know. Now, people can find you pretty much anywhere. You're a social media maven, but Instagram, YouTube, are these the 2 places where you hang out the most?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube probably the most. You can find me youtube.com/Mrs. Desiree Rose, and on all social under that one for that matter. But YouTube is my best place for you to get what you're looking for from me.
Great. So we'll put the links down below in the show notes to be able to subscribe to her YouTube channel. And you share regular online and social media marketing tips for.
I do a weekly Military Marketing Monday, where I teach your brand and your business about military life so you can market better to my demographic if you so desire. And then I also do a video on Wednesday and Friday with social media tips and tricks to help make your social media life run smoother.
That's amazing. And don't forget also to tune in to her podcast, Marketing for Your Boring Business. They do seasons, and so they will have another season coming out probably next fall, right? After you guys move back to the States?
Yep, we're taking June and July off, and we'll be back in August.
Amazing. All right, great. So people that have been tuning in to today's episode and really getting inspired about the idea of hiring their very first person, whether that's a virtual assistant or a contractor or otherwise. And, they're sitting there on the ledge going, oh, but Desiree, I can't let go. I'm a control freak. How could I possibly give this thing, my baby, to somebody else? What would you whisper into her ear right now just to encourage her?
Oh man. I'd probably be like, take a deep breath, you've got this. You can do so much more than you realize you can, and you're not going to be able to do more unless you let go of the things that are weighing you down. So you might not find the right person right away, but the right person will come to you when the time is right, and it'll make everything better for you. And you're going to be able to just do so much more and be so much more than you ever thought possible. And then you'll be like, why was I even scared? So just take a deep breath and get started.
Thank you so much, Desiree Martinez of All-in-One Social Media, for joining us on the Simplifiers podcast today.